Well, what happens is over time, people practice behaviors that they've grown numb to. And they find themselves in situations living a life that is less than what they once dreamed of, what they once hoped for. Why? Because it's more comfortable not to take action and change our life than it is to actually step in and do the hard thing and get uncomfortable, embrace discomfort in order to truly live the life that you want. And I think some of the reasons that we don't end up living the life that we want is we have reduced the consequence of our actions to, there's another day. Welcome to the Serve One podcast. My name is Philip. I'm the campus pastor here at Elevation Matthews. And today I want to talk with you about living the life you want. Living the life that you want. And I've been wrestling with this a lot lately. Of course, in my role, I have conversations with a lot of people that are in situations in life that are not what they want. They're experiencing either a transition or a difficult situation or whatever it might be, something that is disappointing to them or it didn't turn out the way they expected it to turn out. And they currently are not living the life that they want. I don't know if you've ever been in a situation like this where you find yourself in behavior that you know is not what God intended for you or what is best for you. I remember when I was probably 12, 13 years old, I had a cousin that came to visit my family, and he was a little bit older than I was. He wasn't quite old enough to purchase cigarettes yet, but he was a cigarette smoker. So I remember going down to the gas station, and he asked somebody to purchase some Marlboro Reds for him. That's what he smoked. And we would, as I was hanging out with him the week that he was there, we would go out to this spot where he could, in private, in secret, he could smoke his cigarettes. And he would always offer me one. Well, I turned him down because this is something for me, this young guy. I was like, oh, no. My parents have taught me about this. This is not something that I want for my life. I'm going to stay away from it. My dad talked about how he was addicted to smoking and how he kicked the habit. And so I don't even want to go down that path. Well, day one, it was easy for me to say no. Day two, it was easy for me to say no. But as the week wore on, eventually, as this cousin of mine offered continually, eventually I said, sure, I'll go ahead and smoke a cigarette with you. Now, if you've ever been in this situation and you took a puff of a cigarette and he taught me like you have to inhale it down in your lungs and all of that, he taught me how to do it. And man, that first puff of a cigarette was awful. It left me wondering, why in the world would anybody do this? Why would they live their life with this kind of pain? It was obvious with that first puff that cigarettes are not healthy for you. Yet there was a time where our culture said that cigarettes were healthy for you, that they calmed your nerves, it was great for stress, and so they pushed it on society because they thought it was healthy for you. But when you first took that puff, you knew, oh man, this is not good for me. Why am I doing this? Well, what happens is over time, people practice behaviors that they've grown numb to. And they find themselves in situations living a life that is less than what they once dreamed of, what they once hoped for. And now they find themselves years later with bad health, if it is a situation like that, or in a relationship that is not what they want. And they're living a life that is not what God intended. But this is what I want to challenge you with. I believe everyone is living the life that they want. Every person is living the life that they want. I was actually listening to the Carl Lentz podcast just recently, Lights On. It's a fantastic podcast. Give it a try if you have not. There's so much value in this podcast. The interviews are so great, but that's where I kind of got that quote. He was confronted with that and he didn't like it because he was like, oh no, this life that I'm living, there's parts of this that I don't like, and I feel like I need to change. And so I don't know that everyone is living the life that they want. as he broke it down a little bit, for most of us, we're in situations where the life we're living is the result of all of the decisions that we have made or the indecision that we have made, the lack of action that we have taken in order to change the situation that we are in. Why? Because it's more comfortable not to take action and change our life than it is to actually step in and do the hard thing and get uncomfortable, embrace discomfort in order to truly live the life that you want. So you are inadvertently living the life you want because you're not willing to do what it takes to actually live the life that you want. Everyone is living the life that they want. So let me go to James really quick. In James chapter 1, James is instructing Christians on how to live a healthy life, how to live a godly life, and he's specifically looking at trials and temptations. Much like when my cousin is offering me this temptation day after day after day, and you might be thinking of something right now where it's maybe a trial, maybe it's a mindset that you need to overcome that you don't know how to overcome, or maybe it's something that you need to step out and do that you've been shying away from, you haven't had the courage to do it, and so you don't know which way to turn. And James is actually speaking to those situations. Now, with the Jews in that day, they were actually being persecuted, right? So they could be killed for their faith. That's the reality of what they were facing. So for them, it was life or death. And I think some of the reasons that we don't end up living the life that we want is we have reduced the consequence of our actions to, well, there's another day. Well, I'll be able to change it tomorrow. Well, when you elevate, and in any situation, I love to do this. When I'm in a debate with somebody or when they're trying to navigate through like, oh, I believe this, you believe that. I love to really elevate the consequences or really exaggerate the situation. For example, if I'm in a tense conversation and I'm saying, hey, this is an inappropriate way to approach this conversation, and they're arguing with me, I'll simply say something like this. Okay, let's change the scenario. Let's say you're having a conversation with Pastor Stephen. Now, I'm not trying to say that I'm Pastor Stephen. I'm not trying to say that I'm on that level. I'm not trying to make any comparisons there. But when you exaggerate the scenario, it allows people to see, oh, maybe there is something a little bit inappropriate about the way that I am handling this conversation, because I would never speak to Pastor Stephen in this way. Why would I be speaking to either my supervisor, or really, why would I be speaking to my spouse, or why would I be speaking to anybody else in this way? So if you can exaggerate what you're walking through and not reduce it to this place of, oh, it's not so severe. Well, the Jews, they were facing severe persecution. They knew that if they were caught or if they were imprisoned for their faith, they knew it meant following Jesus for them meant they could be killed. Not that somebody might question your beliefs like we do today. It's like, I want to stand up for Jesus, and somebody out there is questioning what I believe about baptism or what I believe about, and we act as though we're persecuted. No. Exaggerate this situation. Let's make it plain so that we can see plain and so that we can make decisions more clearly. But this is what James was saying. Consider it pure joy, my brothers and sisters, whenever you face trials of many kinds, because you know that the testing of your faith produces perseverance. Let perseverance finish its work so that you may be mature and complete, not lacking anything. If any of you lacks wisdom, you should ask God, who gives generously to all without finding fault, and it will be given to you. But when you ask, you must believe and not doubt. Because the one who doubts is like a wave of the sea, blown and tossed by the wind. That person should not expect to receive anything from the Lord. Such a person is double-minded and unstable in all they do. What James is trying to get us to do is to mature as people, to mature in faith, to mature in our walk with Christ so that we can persevere and experience everything that God has for us. It says that if you are not experiencing that, you're double-minded in all your ways. So when I'm in that situation and my cousin is asking me to go and smoke a cigarette over and over and over and over again, there was something inside of me that initially, because I was told I wasn't supposed to do it and I knew it was bad, that was enough to reinforce, oh, I'm not going to do it. But in a very short period of time, I succumbed to the temptation, which means I lost sight of who I am. I lost sight of the value of why we do not do that behavior, why we do not go that direction, why we do not speak that way. And very quickly, I became double-minded and started doing something that was different than I knew I should do. I hope you're starting to identify an area of your life where you might be acting in a way, thinking in a way, engaging in a behavior that is different than what God intends for you. I want you to identify these things, and I don't want you to feel condemned about it. That's not my intention. I don't want you to feel condemned. I want you to feel like, oh, there's room for growth, and I need to press into it and attempt to grow. I want people to mature in their faith and grow and become everything that God created them to be. That's why I do this podcast, is I want to help you grow and become everything that God created you to be. But I understand we are going to face trials. We're going to face temptation. So let me give you a couple of things that will help you in moments of temptation, in moments of trials, in moments where you might be tempted to do the thing that is different than you know you should do. Let me give you a couple of things that will help you weather that storm. It will help you have perseverance so that you can continue to grow. The first is choose to live your life according to a core set of values. Some of the greatest organizations in history, in our world today, the greatest churches are ones who have identified a core set of values and said, this is the way I live my life. I have integrity. I work hard. I set standards. I take ownership. Values that are intrinsically who we are. And the thing about developing values, as you get into it, the thing about developing values is not necessarily this is exactly who I am right now, because hopefully you have some values or some things that you hope that are true about you that maybe are areas that you need to work on in your life. In fact, a lot of us develop a core set of values based off of some of the weaknesses that we currently experience. We see things inside of ourselves and we say, I don't like that because that's keeping me from growing into the person that God called me to be. And so we put a core set of values out there. We write it down, and we might need to write it down daily until that thing becomes true about us. Why? Because it's a value of ours. I'm not asking you to live a perfect life, but I'm asking you to strive towards growth, to continually be growing and maturing and becoming who God created you to be. So in the comments, I'm going to link a few different questions that you can walk through and answer, and I'll give you some examples to help you uncover what are my core values and start to live your life according to values, not just I take it as it comes and I try and make the right decisions along the way and I'm tossed to and fro, and there are some times where I'm double-minded and I do things I know I shouldn't. No. Say, this is a core set of values. This is who I'm going to be, and this is the way I'm going to live. Core set of values. Live the life you want to live. Stop settling for less. And so the second piece of this is after you have a core set of values, that will help you shape a little bit about who you are. You're going to start to uncover some of the things that are most important to you. And as you do that, you'll be able to develop a personal mission statement. And then I want you to do more work and develop a personal vision statement. So my personal mission statement, based off of a lot of this work that I have done, and you're not going to be able to sit down and write down a personal mission statement like first try. But if you've never done this, I want you to do it. Start working towards it. Figure it out. My personal mission statement is I believe God created me to help people become everything that God created them to be. That is my personal mission statement. I can walk that out in my role here as a campus pastor, and I could walk that out if I am in another job at some point in the future and I'm doing something completely different. If I know God created me to help people become everything that He created them to be, that allows me to focus the way that I behave in this world. Now, my vision statement along that way is basically the how that I accomplish my mission statement. So that has to do with developing content like this that helps people become everything God created them to be, that I create networks that allow people to be in community with others that want them to help grow and become everything that God created them to be. That's what I do, right? That's how I accomplish helping people become everything that God created them to be. When you have given your life that level of focus, you've taken the time to sit down and say, this is the life that I want to live. This is who I believe God is creating me to be and how He wants me to express my life to the world. Well, then you'll find yourself confronted with that original question of, am I living the life I want to live? And if I'm not, what action do I need to take in order to live the life that I want to live? Everybody right now is living the life they want to live. Take ownership. If that is currently not what you want for your life, move forward, take action, do the work of defining these things and become everything that God created you to be. Thank you for engaging with the Serve One podcast. If this is helpful to you, make sure that you share it with somebody. You can text the link to somebody so that they can grow and become everything that God created them to be. You have someone in your life who needs this or needs the encouragement, needs the positive reinforcement. So share it, make sure that you like and subscribe so you can get all of this content and grow and become who God created you to be. Love y'all.